Towards the end of this video, I'm going to share with you how you can get a free 130-page book on becoming more strategic, focused, and competitive. The book takes you through an 8-step strategic planning process that helps you create and articulate your winning strategy, set goals using the OKR framework, and create a launch event and form weekly execution rhythms that keep everyone on track. You should also check out the free Miro board that makes it easy to manage planning workshops. And when you're ready to bring your strategy to life and manage your growth in software, you should also check out Zocri. Zocri makes managing your strategy, OKRs, culture, and people easy, improving productivity and focus whilst reducing your execution risk.
Okay, step 6, we are going to set goals. The question is, what goals are we going to need to achieve this quarter in order to execute this strategy across these 4 strategic perspectives and move those scorecards along? The framework that we are passionate about, that we believe is the best goal-setting framework for executing a strategy, is called OKR, which stands for Objectives and Key Results. It was initially used by Intel in the 1970s when Google was a handful of people in a garage. They adopted OKRs and became Google. Tech companies are famous for loving this framework, but it is actually used by an incredible variety of market types and segments, and it is truly international in its nature too. It's got a level of discipline to it, and it does have best practices associated with it, but we want to keep it simple. And sometimes people panic because it's another goal-setting acronym, and what are the rules of this, and do we know how to do it? And it creates a level of paralysis amongst intelligent people that perhaps is unnecessary, in my opinion. To simplify it, we found that a OKR Genesis question really helps. So the question is that when we look at our strategic perspectives in our teams, and bearing in mind that we've already fertilized our minds and we've got our done the work where we've considered issues, opportunities, capability gaps, process optimizations, potential use of AI, and many other areas of the business. So we've kind of done the setup work for this. The question we want to answer is, what do we need to make progress on most this quarter if we're going to deliver this strategy and move those KPI scorecards along? Don't worry about the key results initially. Just be able to write a short objective followed by a longer narrative that describes why we chose to achieve that objective versus other things we could have focused our energy on. Once we have that objective, we can then go, well, how would we measure the success of that objective? How would we know we've achieved that goal? And that goal is likely to fall into 3 categories. We're either trying to acquire a new capability that we haven't got, we're looking to use and develop a capability that we do have, or we're looking to address an underlying performance gap that needs to be fixed or solved for in order to deliver our strategy. The measurements come in the form of 1, 2, 3, potentially 4 key results. And there are different types of key results. So there are key results that are very metric or KPI based, where we're trying to move one number towards another number. And if you don't have that tracking number yet, that KPI, you might initially baseline that number. You might have a strategic project that needs to be delivered in order to achieve that objective. You might even have a learning that needs to be acquired. So you'll see in the course notes that we've described a lot of these key result types, and we've also created stories of how they combine together. So for example, if you're trying to achieve a KPI-based or metric-based key result that is a quantity, sometimes you need to pair it with a quality metric. So take a look at those and consider them and in their pairings. And I think for me, one of the great things about the OKR framework is these combinations of key results can tell a story of the goal. It also creates a way of tracking the objective success. And also in the narrative, it allows other teams to go, I can see what you're trying to do. I can see that provides me with the context to potentially even support what you're doing. Which brings me on to alignment. So OKRs have the potential to be supported by other OKRs. So you'll see potentially, if you've read many books or seen how some OKR software works, that the idea of cascading is quite a big idea. So we would recommend that you see things more as a satellite approach than a deep cascade. And we wouldn't recommend you actually go down too many layers or rings around your strategy. So for each perspective, potentially build one top level OKR and maybe go one layer down beyond that, but don't go 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 layers down, as some people would say you should do, or some people believe you should do. What that does is reduces critical thinking and dials up complexity and misunderstanding around what you could or should do, and it actually stops that question of what is the thing we need to make progress on most, what are this thing that we need to achieve in the coming quarter. That question gets lost the more we cascade through. So we're looking for 1 or 2 levels of OKRs that are satelliting these strategic perspectives, that are committed to, because we've considered the resource requirements, the time requirements, the money, the people, and other things that would stop us potentially achieving that. We've also considered the issues that we might want to solve. You'll see that we have a issues area in the template, as well as a kind of a resourcing checklist. Once we have those, we can then go, okay, we are willing to commit to these OKRs that are satelliting our strategic perspectives, that if we were to look back in a quarter and go, how did we do? We would be proud of ourselves. That's what we're looking for, to be able to reflect and go, how did we do? We did great. We've moved towards achieving our winning aspiration. We've moved towards creating that competitive advantage. We've moved towards serving that customer better than anyone else and creating that sustainability in our growth that we're potentially looking for. The same will be true of marketing and sales, people and culture, finance and operations. We should be able to, at the end of the quarter, sit down and reflect on what we've learned. And we should then be able to then go into the next quarter and ask ourselves the same question. And sometimes we will take an OKR and go, we're going to continue it. It's still the most important thing that we can look to achieve in the coming quarter. We might tinker with the key results a little bit. We might alter the narrative, but essentially it is still the same thing. Or we might say we've achieved that enough to the point where we can take something else from our backlog or roadmap and make that the next thing that we want to achieve. What we're looking to do is not have too many OKRs in the system to the point where teams become overloaded. So if a team or a cross-functional team can have one OKR, that's best. Really is. The more OKRs people have or teams have, the less likely they are to achieve them. Once they have completed that most important thing, they can always start a new one. Even mid-quarter, they could start a new one. So it's better to work in serial as a general rule than parallel. I mentioned cross-functional teams there as well. So OKRs are a great way to break silos and to create a cross-functional group of people that want to achieve a single goal together. If you do those, there are things to watch out for that are in the course notes, and there are things you can do to ensure these cross-functional teams function and are optimized for success. So take a look at those too. So don't be afraid to break outside the hierarchy that is traditional team structure and your org structure. Cross-functional teams are another powerful idea that's often associated with OKR and creating a high-performing organization structure and obviously delivering that strategy for you. If you have any questions, or you're struggling, or you need any guidance or coaching, or you want help in the early quarters to set and then help create the rhythms and the cadences that achieve OKRs, our coaching team are happy to help. Of course, we've got the software that makes a lot of this incredibly easy and streamlines it too. That's there for you as well. It obviously follows the process that we're laying out here as well. Best of luck, and don't forget, no need to struggle. This is a powerful new competency. It is never easy if it's new to you initially, but it will become easy soon. And once you have this, it will power your growth, we promise.